Chip Kelly and LeSean McCoy love to go fast. So much so that they shifted their relationship into top gear and sped from bliss to beef quicker than you can say personalized smoothie. In 2013, after years of success at Oregon with college football's fastest offense, Chip Kelly cannonballed into the NFL. His impact had already been felt by the league. He'd convinced Bill Belichick to speed things up, which helped the 2012 Patriots become the third highest scoring offense ever. So, naturally, teams wanted the speed straight from the source. One interested party in particular already knew how to go fast. The 2012 Philadelphia Eagles ran the sixth most plays in the league. They also won just 4 games, which sealed Andy Reid's fate. But despite the down year, this Eagles squad had some nice pieces. 2 starting caliber quarterbacks, the speediest receiver in the league, some extremely impressive youngsters on defense, and most importantly, one of the NFL's best running backs. Already a superstar as he entered his prime, LeSean McCoy could break ankles on people watching from home. Paired with DeSean Jackson and a 33-year-old Michael Vick who could still burn defenders, it made sense that Kelly and the organization were drawn together. But for owner Jeffrey Lurie, the hire represented something bigger. He had searched for someone offering more than just a scheme. A head coach who could lead the right way and not need to play the role of a salesman getting players to buy into something. So, to Lurie, that's what Philadelphia got with Chip. The offense was just a bonus. Now, Chip did bring some, let's say, unique ideas to Philly. There were smoothies personalized to fit each player's needs. He encouraged hydration through piss tests and a leaderboard, then tracked sleep schedules in an equally non-intrusive way. But piss and sleep are just part of an innovator's toolbox. And the guy who would be shouldering the offensive load, he got it. McCoy spoke glowingly about Chip's swagger being a perfect fit for the team, and said they chatted regularly. It was a solid start. For Chip, getting that enthusiasm from such an important piece made his life just a bit easier. The head coach even enjoyed McCoy's playfulness at practice, or at least that's how I'm reading into this comparison. As the 2013 season began, it only strengthened their relationship. It started like a dream with a record-setting first half in week 1 of the Chip Kelly era. From there, though, Philly struggled to find their way and sat at 3-5 at mid-season. That's important for us because as the wheels threatened to fall off, disagreements didn't send our stars over the edge. Kelly even apologized in front of the whole team after a sideline spat. A shared ambition helped their connection. And in order for Kelly to be the best, he'd need to help McCoy do the same. So when the Eagles went on a tear, won 7 of their final 8 to take the division, JD paved the way. In Kelly's system, he led the league in rushing and went over 2,100 yards from scrimmage. But for McCoy, all credit went to the system and the mastermind behind it. A last-second loss to the Saints on wildcard weekend surely stung, but it couldn't distract from an impressive first season. Chip sounded proud of what the Eagles had accomplished. He also credited the players for being a good bunch who wanted to be coached. While that blanket statement looked to cover the whole team, some had made Chip's life not so easy, which offered a marinade for our beef. A report came out in March 2014 that the Eagles had concerns about DeSean Jackson, from those he associated with to him missing meetings, basically enough of a notice to make his release the next day appear justified. From there, more talk emerged about Kelly and Jackson butting heads in the locker room. The buzzword became culture. Jackson didn't fit the culture that Chip had built. He didn't buy into the program. The release served as a major message considering how great Jackson played in 2013. When players didn't speak out, people used that as proof that Jackson had rubbed teammates the wrong way. Then again, they had just watched their teammate get cut after a Pro Bowl season. McCoy did his best to spin that part of it as a positive, a reminder to the team that if you want to be safe, you better trust Chip. But at the same time, it contrasted with what happened to another Eagles receiver earlier in the Chip era. In August 2013, when a video came out of Riley Cooper using a racial slur, he got a talking to, apologized to the team, received a fine, and that was that. The impact on the locker room understandably came into question, and one anonymous player even pointed out that under previous coaches, there's no way Cooper would have just been fined. Now, these situations varied for sure, but they're both important to keep in mind for our beef, especially considering Jackson's side of things. He felt like the Eagles not only put together a smear campaign against him, but didn't even tell him the real reasons for his release. That move changed things for our stars. They didn't show it. Ahead of the 2014 season, an entire interview with McCoy in ESPN the magazine focused on how LeSean bought into Chip's system. He talked about being hesitant when Kelly brought a college vibe to the team's arrival to their first game together, yet it fed into the feeling of a football revolution. He talked about how playful their relationship became, specifically a time McCoy slapped Kelly's ass, only for Chip to ask if Shady hurt his hand on that tight butt. McCoy made it extremely clear. The pair built a great relationship, and he loved playing for Kelly. Year 2 wasn't quite as kind to the Eagles, though. Teams could key in on McCoy more easily, and by his standards, he struggled, although he still had a solid year that left him as the Eagles' all-time leading rusher. But the mentality that drove them in year 1 threatened them early a season later. Players said they were worn out going into the games after an intense week of practice, a concept McCoy didn't disagree with. At one point, after a somewhat confused fourth quarter benching, McCoy alluded to having said something he should have kept to himself, but left it at that. Philly still managed a 10-6 record, but this time around that didn't include playoffs. And once the year ended earlier than Philly had hoped, Shady found himself in an interesting spot. His contract had 3 years remaining, but with nearly $10 million due in 2015, McCoy knew they'd need to sort that out. Something he actually sounded eager to do. He just wanted to stay with a team that he loved, with all the people he had great relationships with. And while he knew it was a business, McCoy felt confident things would work out. Or not. After nearly 3,000 yards rushing in 2 years with Chip, Shady found himself playing football outside of Pennsylvania for the first time in his life. Had it not been for Jackson's release the year before, maybe this would have felt more shocking. Instead, it represented the new norm under Kelly. While Chip combed the roster with a sledgehammer, McCoy sounded off. In an ESPN interview, Shady changed tunes and described their relationship as never being great, in part because of how Kelly needed to control things. But the most discussed quote, McCoy said Kelly got rid of all the good players, specifically the good black players. The idea had been brought up by others like Stephen A. Smith, with the crux of the accusation being the way Kelly handled Cooper's situation compared to Jackson's or McCoy's. When asked to respond, the Eagles weren't touching that one. Aside from that quote though, Shady repeatedly said he was moving on and he had nothing negative to say. Or maybe just nothing to say, considering he dodged Chip's phone calls and shut down reporters who brought up his former coach. Shady's actions said plenty though. Because the schedule gods were kind, the Bills and Eagles faced off in December, and McCoy made it clear how much the game meant to him. He had the rest of his team wanting to win for him. Kelly saw the game as a chance to talk it out. He tried calling again, this time from a new number, but once Chip identified himself, McCoy hung up. LeSean's response to that call? Kelly can't say shit. Chip said he'd love to be able to shake McCoy's hand. LeSean's response to that? Kelly can't shake shit. But that response actually helped us learn what was really going on. Kelly didn't downplay it. He admitted to not doing right by McCoy. Chip explained how the trade went down and how it prevented him from calling LeSean before he found out through other sources. The animosity made a bit more sense. And while McCoy still referred to Kelly as a genius, it also explained why Shady may have felt disrespected after all he'd done for the franchise. Their showdown, though, definitely didn't help any feelings. McCoy displayed his thoughts by launching his helmet in the tunnel after the game, which summed up what LeSean had no words for. But while McCoy had a rough night, Kelly's season had been worse. After winning just 6 games, the Eagles relieved Chip of his coaching duties before Week 17. When Lurie spoke about the qualities their next coach needed, it said volumes about the way Kelly had run the team. He had a system, he focused on sleep and smoothies and conditioning, and if you disagreed, that went against his culture. With Kelly out of Philadelphia, the beef seemed to cool. McCoy didn't necessarily bash him when describing Chip's style, but made it clear that life would be easier for players if they just bought in. Kelly went on to coach the Niners, and the pair met once again, with McCoy telling reporters that the beef was way behind him. He then played a major part in steamrolling San Francisco, which left him sounding a little more cheery than after your average midseason victory. From there were some occasional jabs, like when McCoy went on the NFL Network and talked about how he had zero issues with Philadelphia once Kelly was back coaching in college. But to Chip's credit, he continued to express regret over how the trade went down, and wished he could have done right by Shady. Sometimes that's just how the beef crumbles. Chip had tons of success at Oregon, but when he looked to bring that to Philadelphia, it also came with a mentality that over time didn't work with pro players. Then, to keep the mentality alive, those who disagreed were sent packing, no matter how much they'd done for the team. And with how much McCoy had done, he expected a little better treatment. Their relationship wasn't necessarily abnormal for a coach and player, and individually, they seemed to want all the same things. But while those similarities helped bring them together, they also made for a trickier split. Hey, thanks for checking out this beef. Since you're obviously still here, I think you'd enjoy the T.O. vs. McNabb episode as well. Or if you're an Eagles fan, here's a rewinder of Romo's bobbled snap. Don't forget to join us over at Secret Base, subscribe to our YouTube, and we'll see you soon.